Welcome back to another episode of Silent Pals Go to the Movies. This is another Throwback Thursday review. I'm here with my friend Touly. Say hi, Touly.
Hi, guys.
And today we're going to be reviewing A Police Story. And just a fair warning, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. A virtuous Hong Kong police officer must clear his good name when the drug lord he is after frames him for the murder of a dirty cop. So I'm going to start off with my review, and I'm going to start off with my pros. This movie is a martial arts action movie directed by Cheung Chan and stars Cheung Chan. So it's a win-win in my book. I'm really fond of martial arts movies, especially when it comes from the 1980s, especially when it's directed and involves Cheung Chan. The reason is because Cheung Chan is one of the guys who has originally been there from the start with the Bruce Lee and the 80s and the 70s movies. To me, this is the era when everything started. People don't know. There's a good recommendation. I'm going to put it out there right now. If you really want to know about this golden age of martial arts movies in Hong Kong when this all started, it's kind of two movies put together. It's called Red Trousers. And the name Red Trouser comes from a training. It's almost like a circus where kids would go into and they would be training acrobatics. And Cheung Chan talks about this, that he was one of these red trousers and they're trained to take blows, receive blows, and do all these stunts. Basically, it's a stuntman academy. But while you're in there, you get hired into movies to be the stuntmen, the people who are the thugs, and you make the action star famous by taking blows, getting thrown through windows and stuff like that. In that movie, it's really good highlight to know where these guys come from. And once you see these movies, you start noticing all the action. And this is amazing how they do this. And it's not strings, wires, and everything like that. You really get to see these people shine. And to me, I see these movies and it's amazing how they put their lives in risk. Also, the other talent behind this movie, we see Maggie Cheung, who plays May. We see Brigitte Lee, who plays Selena. These are the two stars back in Hong Kong in the 80s who were stars back then. And I got introduced to them thanks to my friends in college. In college, they were becoming famous in America through movies over here. Most of these movies still had some martial arts flair in them. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Some of them had drama, Chungking Express, 2046. Some of them had other actors in them like Andy Lau. These movies to me still hold a lot of significance. And going back to 1985 with this movie, Police Story, it just kind of makes me go back in time and see how it all started. It's just a refreshing breath of fresh air that I get to see how these people started. I just think that this movie still holds true. It's fast paced, action and drama. To me, it still holds my attention up to this days. And I remember watching this when I was a kid with my dad, still in the original audio. But the length is ideal. It's not too long, not too short. It's just action, action, action. And you sometimes don't even need to follow the story. You just jump in and you just start seeing the action. And to me, I think that's what captivated me, the action. And I also love the ending credits. In America, we see bloopers. In this movie, we see the actual behind the scenes things that happen to the actors, the injuries, the falls, being carried on the stretcher. And we see that they're not really good. We see that there is some danger elements to this. And we see that sometimes when they do things, they do get injured. So it's like this reminder, like, don't try this at home, kids. Now, moving on to my cons. I remember seeing this movie and just liking the action because the stories some of the times fall short of catching my attention. The stories are now really well developed. For example, the cop played by Cheung Chan, he is framed for a murder of a cop later in the story. And that's almost in, I would say, third arc of the movie. It's really delayed in the movie. And in the beginning of the movie, there's a trial and the bad guy gets off by technicalities or some mumbo jumbo. And I'm like, it doesn't really hold water. It's kind of comical how he gets off. To me, it just seemed like if I was going to take this movie seriously, it didn't really hold water in that sense. But if you think it's a comedy, then yeah, it's kind of funny. But to take it seriously, the story would actually fall apart for me. But the action holds it together. So I would think that instead of the glue being the story, it's the action that holds the movie together. So the story for me doesn't really, it's not the bulk of the movie. It's just this lingering element or flavor to it. It's not this thing that you're there to sit for. It's the action that brings you into the theater or to watch the movie. So in a sense, I'm going to bring an example is when Jackie Chan runs away from the cops because they're, he's wanted for a murder of the cop or his fellow colleague. How does he know that he has to go and stake out the place or that shopping center where he's waiting for Selena to show up? Doesn't any other cop have any training or half a brain to know that they're going to do the same thing and he's the only one there? To me, the story doesn't really fit. It doesn't get developed, and at the end, it's everything just turns out a-okay for the main character. And the way it ended abruptly. I did not see it close the way I wanted to see it close, except for the action. Bad guy got punched in the gut, but we did not see it settle correctly the way we perceive it in the West. We wanted to see the guy kiss the girl and run off into the sunset. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to my friend Touly and see how he saw this movie and what grade he gave this movie.
Alongside a couple of other Jackie Chan movies from the early 90s, this one, Police Story, which came out in the 80s, belonged to a collection of movies that first introduced me to Jackie Chan. I'm pretty sure I saw these films at first on TV. Granted, they were dubbed, but they still impacted me in such a way where, as Sal mentioned, alongside, your Bruce Lee's and your Jet Li films, as Sal mentioned, the golden age of martial art films really influenced me, especially as a kid, if you really think about it. Like, these were the sort of films that really got me into watching martial art films where there was like a good guy going against, what appears to be like a million worth of like bad guys or something like that. I mean, I never really took these films too seriously because I was so engrossed in the action scenes, and Police Story being one of them. I think it did a fine job at that. That's really what's the component that captivated me. And of course, they need to sprinkle in a little story element to it to get us from point A to point B and so forth. Sal mentioned that the story, it's not the best out there or well stitched together. There are some plot holes and they make it dramatic. To me, it really boiled down to Jackie Chan's character. His character is pretty much was the one that kind of sold me on wanting to root for something or want to know more about something, because you get the sense that he really did care about his job and he wanted justice wherever justice needed to be served. And with the sort of lawyers that are able to talk their way out of stuff, and the justice system sort of siding with them in a way where it didn't seem fair to what Jackie Chan's character went out his way to do, because all I could think of, the system is rigged or whatever. I got behind Jackie Chan's character, but again, this is not to say that how they kind of bridge some of the scenes, though, it was lacking. And those are some of the things that if I were to look at a film and critique it on how artistically it was made, from scene transitions, story building, character development, all that stuff, this film probably is not one of those. But because of how riveting the action scenes were, like, I didn't really care much about those other stuff. Again, the reason I watch these films is for stars like Jackie Chan and the Bruce Lees at the time, Jet Lees, for them to just do their thing, and that is kick butt. And normally in these movies, we get like one or two very iconic scenes that these actors are in. Like in this one, most people would say it's at the shopping center when Jackie Chan rides down the pole all the way down to get to the head lead bad guy. For me, I kind of put martial art films in a very different category when I'm judging them, because it's sort of, in a way, if you were judging like a horror film or something, where you're just watching a horror film to want to be scared and you don't care too much about how things make sense. It's sort of like that for me when it comes to martial art film. I would say if you want something that's really beautiful and a story really well told, then for me, like a good example would be Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, movies like that. But when I'm watching a Jackie Chan film, I'm watching for action and comedy. And did Police Story did that for me? Yes, it did. So overall, I did like the film. I do want to mention a couple more of the things that I didn't like, though. Again, from a technical perspective, things that revolve around the plot hole or some of the characters. The police police force. They did really seem like a joke because of how they handled the situation at the beginning. Kind of seemed absurd to me that the bad guys had the upper hand right from the get-go and they never lost control of it until, of course, Jackie Chan started taking things into his own hand. But until that point, like, his comrades were getting shot from like the rooftop of houses, and I was thinking to myself, there's no way like police force is this inexperienced. They at least should have had like an even playing field with the bad guys. But that I found kind of absurd. In addition to the leader of that particular police force, the lieutenant or whatever, who Jackie Chan confronted later and held hostage. I did like how Jackie Chan's character brought that up, how frustrated he felt about this guy who just sits around all day and lives off the success of his employees, and that he just doesn't do anything. He doesn't care. I actually felt that though, so that was good. But at the same time, I wanted some sort of closure between Jackie Chan's characters and the lieutenant, because the tension that built was lingering. And at the end, I mean, it's fine. Again, looking at it from a comical perspective, the lieutenant just said he didn't see anything, so he was gonna let what Jackie Chan did to the lawyer and the head bad guy, just let it go. The abrupt ending, I understand where Sal is coming from. There's also no sense of closure there, like from like a Western audience perspective, Western film perspective. We would have probably wanted Jackie Chan to confront Selena, have a conversation with her before maybe Selena goes away, have Jackie Chan confront his girlfriend. And again, I mentioned the whole lieutenant thing. Maybe Jackie Chan gets a promotion or what have you, something to those degrees. But I think I'm used to martial art films ending kind of abruptly like that. To me, it's a sort of style as well. And the film was already around like an hour and 40 minutes long. So, I mean, like I said, I would have appreciated maybe another 5 minutes, maybe, if they just wanted to end it the way that maybe a Western film would have ended it. But at the same time, we get like bloopers, right? That's an iconic trait of Jackie Chan films. We get a blooper reel. It's really, if anything, like Jackie Chan was one of those actors who brought that style over here to the West. And I applaud his effort to eventually speak his own lines and not have his character be dubbed, such as this film was. In the end, like I said, I still had a great time watching it, despite the flaws that are in this film. And I'm going to end up giving this film a 7 out of 10.
I'm also going to give it a 7 out of 10. I was going to give it a 7.5, but I took half a point off because of the story. I'm going to give the same commentary as Touly. I'm used to that ending, just as I'm used to seeing all the martial arts movies ending, just as the Seven Fists and all those movies. You have the iconic leap in the air and, the pause and you cut, and that's the movie. That's the ending. But I really wanted to see Jackie Chan rush to the side of May, because she did get pushed down, 2 flights of stairs by the bad guy, and go to her side first, see her then return and kick some butt. That's what I probably wanted to see, a little closure right there. We didn't even see that. But I also saw, because Touly did mention about the police force being a little, lacking in some skill, and Jackie confronting the lieutenant. Maybe that was a social commentary. Maybe he wanted to shine light on how Hong Kong back in the day was. Some police stations were corrupted or bought out by some criminal organizations. Maybe he wanted to bring it out by doing this in a sensical, comical kind of way. That's probably how it was probably wanted to be presented. But from our point of view, it's more action than anything. We wanted to see more martial arts, and this is why we're here, because we see the name, and that's what Jackie Chan means to us. It means action and kicking ass, and we want to see the bloopers at the end. And also, he was the guy who sang the ending song. So with that wraps it up for this review of Police Story. Please join us next time when we're going to review The Matrix.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole.
You could say that.
I can see it in your eyes. You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he is expecting to wake up.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can find our social media links below. And like always, keep watching movies.